Let's get into it. I found this clip, sold not for sale, Coach Colin here. I found this clip very interesting. You know, Mike Baker is an ex-agent, as we all know, and he gets real nervous when Joe brings up this topic. You can tell it's more than just his regular, frantic thought self. He gets very nervous, doesn't know quite what to say. After I play this clip for you, I'm going to play a clip of RFK talking about the Kennedy assassination, and then Donald Trump revealing what he really thinks happened. And he is someone who has seen the files. So this is very interesting stuff. But let's watch Mike Baker get real scared for a second first.
A lot of trust in a lot of things related to the government. Right? Mm-hmm. They don't believe their politicians. They don't believe their government agencies, right? The various, look at everybody talking about, we got to disband the FBI. We got to shut down the Secret Service. No, the Secret Service didn't do any favors for themselves. Holy
But the CIA, they're talking about getting rid of the IRS. Like, okay, and substituting it with what?
Yeah, what are you going to do?
Yeah, what, you're going to rebuild it from the ground up? You don't think you're going to have the same problems?
Yeah.
Yeah, and what are you going to do with all the things that they're investigating overseas? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do with all the national security threats?
Yeah, we're gonna tear down. We got to shut down the CIA. Okay, so you think we live in a benevolent world?
Yeah,
right. You think that of course it's a human endeavor, so it can always stand improving.
Of course,
and same with all the other government agencies
with
out
everything.
There. Yeah, but. This idea that you got to tear institutions down because you're pissed off about whatever it might be.
Let me ask you this: when you're speaking of that, one of the things that Trump said was that I think it was Pompeo that talked him into not releasing the Kennedy files.
Yeah.
And Trump said that if you saw what they showed me, you wouldn't release it either.
Yeah, I know. I saw all of that, and honest to God, I don't have a secret that I can reveal.
But what do you think it is, though? When you hear things like that, do you get concerned? What's in there?
To me, it sounds a little bit like, National Treasure, that movie with Nicolas Cage, where, the secret book that they have, and they open the book and they read what all the presidents have told them about things. You should watch it. It's actually a very funny movie. But, what do I think it means? I don't know. Is Trump speaking in hyperbole, or is there some?
Well, it's got to be a reason why they don't want to release it.
Well, yeah.
So what could a reasonable reason be?
Yeah, I think part of it is, I think that there's this tendency on the government's part, right? Once they classify anything, it's really tough to get them to back off of that, right? It's really tough to get them to declassify information. I would argue they should, right? That's at this point, nobody is still alive, right? And so you would think at this point, they'd say, okay, fine. There can't be a sources and methods issue here, right? They can't be like, well, we're worried about if we open up this file, even if there's not like some smoking gun that said, they did it, right? But even if it's just on the margins, like Lee Harvey Oswald went down to Mexico. We know that because, meet with the Russian embassy down there. We know that because we had an asset who, reported on it from inside the Russian embassy, whatever it may be. They're all dead, right? I would argue just, declassify it, let it go. So I don't know. I don't have a good explanation for it.
But what if it says that the CIA killed Kennedy?
If it says that and it's backed up, then that's a come to Jesus meeting for me. But
literally,
I'm probably gonna have to, rethink my position on a lot of things.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what they're worried about.
Yeah.
And if that's what he's saying. And that's what they're actually worried about. That would be a real problem. It would be a real problem that could undermine a lot of the national security issues that we do have.
Yeah,
and
sure,
the power
absolutely.
that the CIA has.
Yeah. If that was the case, but think about this. We talked about this before. I've always felt like the MLK, like Martin Luther King's, was more. It was more unsettled. But there was just something from an intuitive point of view, from an investigator's point of view.
Investigated the same way JFK is.
Was not. No.
No, and you don't hear about it the same way you hear about JFK.
Right. And it was more of a sort of a local thing, right? You just felt like, there was more of a element of various local players engaged in it, local police, state police, whatever it might be, and and possibly federal side, and all kind of. There was just something unsettling about that whole incident. Mm-hmm. So, look, any of these things would significantly undermine past where it is now. Already people have distrust, but
But if it was proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that the CIA killed Kennedy, that would be a giant issue.
It'd be a giant issue. And then,
that would be,
then what happens? Then what do you do? Then at that point, who knows? Because look, I'll be honest with you. Look, the agency, of course, I'm going to say what everybody expects me to say. The agency, and I can only speak from that point of view. I can't talk about the Bureau or Secret Service or others, but the agency does some tremendous work in pursuit of protecting national security interests.
I believe that, and I believe that most of the people that are involved are patriots.
Yeah, but I will say, if that were to be proven without a doubt, because they declassified that paperwork, none of that is going to matter. All that good work, right? All that. I don't even know where you'd go with it, right? I mean, the church, they basically wanted to disband the agency at that point, right?
That was in what year was that?
That was the 70s, yeah. That was look, they put Carter put Stansfield Turner into the agency basically to try to, I would argue, dismantle it, right? And that was, so there was a period of time when there, and also after World War II, they just shut down OSS. It was like, yeah, we don't need it, right? So would that create a moment where the public's just saying, this, we don't need it, we'll just maybe, we'll see. But I would guarantee you something bad would then happen, and they would say, well, we need to reconstitute it in some fashion. Let's do it. So it would
especially if it's publicly known that it's not there anymore, and then foreign actors know this.
You got to have these organizations. So that's a hypothetical that.
But it's like every organization, you're going to have bad apples in the organization, and cops. I think cops are overall very important and very good.
Right.
But when you have a bad cop, that bad cop, especially if it's on video, now people think of cops as only being that one bad cop.
Right.
That is very true, speaking to Joe's point. But also, it's like, look at Joe. He pulls him into these deep waters of questioning that. And then he kind of helps him out a little bit because you can see he's kind of splashing around in the water. He's like, I can't say anything. You notice he said, I don't have a secret I can reveal. So it's like, I have a secret, but not one that I can actually reveal to you right now on this podcast. And then also he says, people want to get rid of, institutions like this because of whatever it might be. You mean like when they turn from being international, when they turn in on the citizens? Yeah, that's kind of where people go, we should probably, I'm paying for it, all the things, all the surveillance, I'm paying for that to happen to me. No, I don't want that anymore. Obviously, people are going to be like that. I don't know, if it was a little more transparent, as transparent as something like that could be, maybe people wouldn't feel like that. Or if they only focused on international matters, maybe then people would be like, this is a great thing. We got a great thing. You never know. But that's a discussion that I don't think they're willing to have. They're like, no, we have to actually look at you. Sorry, we do. And it's interesting that they bring up after World War II, somebody wanted to, and they actually did shut it down back when it was the OSS, I believe he said. And then JFK's time, he wanted to do that. And then in the 70s, they wanted to do that. And then today, Vivek is somebody who's talked about that, and other people, of course. So it's interesting that there's been about 4 or 5 times where people were like, this thing needs to get shut down. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Now, we got RFK talking about this exact matter. I caught this guy in a very compromising face here. I promise you guys, this is not how he looks. And then we're going to go over to Trump. Let's go.
I'm curious your position on some of the most radical proposals people have this election cycle of dismantling the FBI, CIA, DOJ, aka the deep state. Do you believe there's a deep state? And how would you, as president, deal with this intelligence operation we have?
I have a pretty clear idea about how I would handle the intelligence agencies. And in fact, my father was thinking very deeply about that at the time. My father, who believed his first reaction when his brother was killed was that the CIA had killed him. And in fact, the first 3 calls he made on that day, and I was home at the time, and John McComb, the CIA was right across the street from my house. And so John McComb, who's the CIA director, you would come to our house and swim every day after work during the spring and summertime. And my father called the CIA desk and talked to a desk officer and said, did your people do this? That was his first call. And so my father was thinking very, very carefully about how to handle the CIA. He had been essentially managing the CIA since he came into office. During the Bay of Pigs invasion, my uncle realized that he had been lied to by Charles Cabell and Alan Dulles and Richard Bissell, the heads of the CIA, as well as his Joint Chiefs. And he came out in the middle of the invasion when it turned against them, and he realized these men were being killed on the beach, and he said, I want to take the CIA and shatter it into 1,000 pieces and scatter it to the wind. So he recognized that the function of the intelligence agencies had devolved, and that they had become captive of the military-industrial complex and the military contractors, and their function was essentially to provide our nation with a constant pipeline of new wars to feed the military-industrial complex and the growth of the surveillance state. What if the CIA looks the way that the CIA looks at the war in Iraq is it was a success because we accomplished our mission of deposing Saddam Hussein. The CIA, it was George Tenet who lied to President Bush and said it's a slam dunk. So they got us to go in there at weapons of mass destruction.
So as president, would you rethink it? And then just as a final question, as final follow-up to that, do you believe they murdered or were involved in the murder of your uncle? What have you come to personally?
The CIA, yes, they were definitely involved in the murder and the 60-year cover-up. They're still not releasing the papers that legally they have to release. But I don't think there's any doubt if you look at this huge, monumental mountain of evidence and confessions, and so many people who have confessed to their involvement, and these revelations are released incrementally, and so nobody really takes notice of them. But when you put them all together, the story is very clear.
So you would definitely rethink the CIA, the FBI, DOJ, the whole intelligence.
Very interesting. Such a well of knowledge with RFK Jr. I really hope he has kids that take up the same type of, knowledge of history, knowledge of American history. I really hope he has somebody who's going to step in like that, because, it's dwindling in that family, and they're such a historical family. They really need somebody who's that historian. And it seems like right now, RFK Jr. is just that. Now, that's him saying, yes, definitely. And now the same gentleman asked Trump the same question. And listen to Trump's response.
You said the first thing, or one of the things you wanted to do, was release the JFK file. And then you said later, I saw it and I wasn't really ready to do it. And then I saw a clip where you changed your mind and you said, I think we're ready to see this file. And I'm just curious.
What's in it?
What? No,
tell us right now.
What happened? Like what? Yeah.
I actually did do it. I released a lot, as you know. But when it came to the whole thing, I was hit by some people that worked for me that are great people that you would respect. And they asked me not to do it. And I'm saying, why? Tell me why. And they said, sir, I think it needs a little more time. And I released a lot. But I said, if they feel so strongly, I respect the people, and would have done that again. But this time, I'm just going to do it.
RFK says the CIA killed his uncle. Do you believe that?
Well, this wasn't CIA that asked me, but I think CIA was probably behind it. But they didn't. They would have preferred that I not release the rest of it. So we did give quite a bit. It's going to be done early on. A lot of people want to see that. And whatever it may say, I won't say. I sort of have an idea. But whatever it is, it'll be very interesting for people to see.
Wow. Trump's is like, yeah, I think they had something to do with it. I've seen it. I'm not going to say anything, but yeah, I think so. And now, because those videos were taken a couple of months ago, back when Robert F. Kennedy was still running, now they're together. So now it's for sure that it's going to come out. You can't, Trump gets in office, you can't have Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in your cabinet have made that promise and then not execute. You can't do it. So it's definitely going to be coming out. Trump has verified, and that's the thing. Robert F. Kennedy is somebody who was on the side of, his father passing away, his uncle passing away. He saw the calls that his father made, directly after. He heard the phone calls. He was around those people, he was around all of it. And then you have Trump on the other side, actually got to actually see the files. And both of them are like, yeah. So listen, forget my theory. Forget what I think. You have those two guys saying exactly what you just heard. I guess we'll see. Anyways, guys, like, subscribe, turn on the notifications. Other than that, and also, I see why Mike Baker's a little scared. I get it now. I'm out.